One other problem that comes up with Kant is one in which we just had, this example with the person coming to the door and wanting to know where Jill was in order to shoot her. Well, there's actually a problem in the fact that you've told Jill you would hide her. So if you tell where Jill is, then you've kind of lied to Jill in the first place about where she was. So you now have a conflict of obligations. You have an obligation to hide somebody as you promised, and you have a problem of lying to the other person. So you have a conflict there. And Kant never really gives a way to resolve duties. And what happens is we have duties of all kinds of things. Sometimes you have a duty as a parent. Sometimes you have a duty as an employee. Sometimes you have a duty as a son and other things. And so how you handle those is something that Kant doesn't really give us a way to handle. Kant just says you're supposed to do your duty, but Kant doesn't explain what to do when duties conflict. An example of this is many years ago. This has been more than 10 years ago during the Gulf War, during the initial war. Not the fact that it went on for years after, but during the initial invasion, there was one case in which a young father was in the special forces, and his son was born and had some sort of birth defect, was like 2 or 3 months old, and was going to die. And there was no question about it. It was going to die within the next couple months, and there was nothing they could do about it. It was just going to happen. And so he asked the military. He was supposed to be deployed with his small unit, and they said, can I stay home to be there with my wife when my child dies, to be there with my child for the final hours? This child's not going to live long. And the command said no, for mission cohesion, for mission, we need you to be there, because we can't just substitute you at the last minute. It wouldn't work. We need you there. You need a member who is trained and knows the group, who can interpret them. And if we try to switch it out at this point, it's going to be a problem. And so what they said was, they said no. And so here is this guy. He has two conflicting duties. One is a duty as a father and a husband to be there for his family during this time of crisis, and the other is his duty as a soldier to be there with his team, with his group, with his platoon or whatever it would be, his special forces team. And so the military people now are going, you have no concept of military units, and this would probably be true. Anyway, but the case though is that here we have these two obligations, these two conflicting obligations. What does he do? And the answer is, I don't know. There really is no good answer to that. Kant doesn't provide it. A utilitarian could provide it. A utilitarian could weigh out the goods and the bads and make a utilitarian analysis. A utilitarian could do that. But in a Kantian, you have a duty to do both. And how you resolve those, there's no real say. In that case, I believe what happened, and the reason I know about it, is because the person ended up going to the media, and it ended up kind of hitting big out there, about this one soldier's plight. And within a day or two, the higher ups in command, their superiors said, what are you thinking? This is ridiculous. We can make do another way. And they ended up giving him time. Because in the end, that is the guy's not, the other thing is the guy's mind is not going to be in the war. If your family is at home and your child is dying and your spouse is going through crisis, you are not going to have your head in that war. And that is going to get people killed. And so the command basically came back and told them that. And so that ended up being at least a positive in that situation, although, it obviously was not a positive situation.